Fabulous. Right, there you go. Showing that we are now live, so should start joining people in just a minute. Oh, yeah, we're down with Eden. It's quite funny. It shows on Facebook, Babble Back with Eden, which is hilarious. Give it just a minute or two, and then we will go through. Just need to get my questions. Right, I'm going to make a start. Good morning, everyone. We are here with Minta from Ruby Cup. We are here to celebrate our Eco Week and to talk to you more about Ruby Cup and who they are and what they do. So to start with, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And would you like to tell us a bit about the thought process behind Ruby Cup?
Yes. Well, so that's before my time, but I will explain it as best as I can. But our three founders were studying social entrepreneurship together in Copenhagen. And that's more than a decade ago. But basically, they were asked to do projects where you can connect business and making some social change in the world. And they decided to travel to Kenya and hand out what is now a prototype of the Ruby Cup. So it was a very early version of a menstrual cup that they were handing out in the community to women to see what kind of a change this could do. And in the end, they found out they could actually change quite a lot. They could keep more girls in school. The women could more easily take care of their jobs and do their daily life activities because periods got less of an issue simply to people. And when they saw there was such a huge impact from such a small item, they decided to actually move further with it and make it into a real business. And this is basically how Ruby Cup started.
That's such a fantastic story of how it started. Amazing.
Yeah. And then, since then, there has been more product development and the cup has been improved. And but the thought behind it is built into it. So even now, for every cup sold, there is a cup donation to someone who doesn't have access to safe menstrual products. And no matter what we do, this is built into every step of the business.
That's fantastic. So how does, so you said it, for everyone bought, you donate one. How does that, buy one, give one, how does that work then? So could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, for our customers, it's super automatic. Like it's literally counted 1 to 1. If you buy one, you know that you are donating at the same time to someone who needs it. And well, we work with some partners that are locally based in communities in Kenya, Nepal, Malawi, many countries actually. And they tell us how many cups they need in the communities they work in. And we simply count and distribute around. And then our partners are the ones who do the work in the communities, which is to hand out the cups. That's one dimension. But to educate about menstrual health is another important dimension. And to check that people there have the sanitary facilities to clean the cup and to make use of it.
That's such a fantastic ethos to have as a company, and brilliant that you're supporting so many other countries around the world. That's fantastic.
yeah, it's really a nice feeling. And then they report back to us for every educational workshop they've had, how it went. And they track down later on the same people to see after 3 months and after 6 months, what are the experiences with using menstrual cups and how many of the ones who participated in the workshops are using them. And then they give back these data to us so that we can keep track on the real impact, which is not only how many cups were distributed, but how many people were in the end lifted out of period poverty.
That's incredible. That is absolutely amazing. It's really good to hear that you keep track of it as well, because that's not, when you hear about like a retailer for a menstrual cup, you don't think there's so much more behind it. And it's just wonderful to hear how dedicated you are to eradicating period poverty. That's absolutely amazing. And what would you say to people who are a bit on the fence about trying a menstrual cup?
I get you, first of all, because, well, of course, we want to handle our periods as easily as possible. So if you're already in the habit of using a certain product or doing things in a certain way, of course, it feels like a fuss to try something new. But I would say it's worth it in the end. There are many benefits to using a menstrual cup compared to, for instance, if you're using disposable period products. Environmentally speaking, you can save a lot of plastic waste throughout your lifetime. It might be as much as 200 kilos. And in your daily life, you get to handle your period less times in a day by using a menstrual cup, because you can wear it for up to 8 hours at a time. So basically you can deal with your period only 3 times throughout a 24-hour day. So in that sense, you can easily move around, do your daily life stuff. You don't need to bring period products with you wherever you go. You are just with your cup, and that's it. So it's pretty fuss-free as well.
That's amazing. It can last for 8 hours. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then another thing is, it might seem like a big deal to begin with, but as soon as you're used to it, you will feel the same as if you were using a tampon. You just have to get used to it. Then it's easy after.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say go for it.
Love it. Yeah. So how long before you have to replace a Ruby cup? So obviously they do last a heck of a lot longer than a single disposable, but realistically, how long would you say a single one would last a person?
Yeah, realistically, 10 years, provided that you care for the cup, which means you have to clean it and sterilize it between each period. And you have to store it in a cotton bag or something else that is slightly breathable. You have to make sure it doesn't get any scratches or things like this. But with normal use and good cleaning routines, 10 years. It's a super lasting material, medical grade silicone that it's made of. It's the same silicone that's used in anywhere in the medical industry. So this is a very durable material we're talking about.
That's amazing. Simone just put, wow, that's a lot longer than I would have imagined. Alice says 10 years is fantastic. That's amazing how much, like, you know, one product can last you for so long if you look after it. That's brilliant. It's fantastic.
Exactly. And the environmental impact of one menstrual cup has been defined by a UN program called Life Cycle Initiative. The environmental impact has been compared to 20 disposable period products. So 20 pads or tampons. So basically for some people, if they use 20 pads in 1 month, the product is 0 waste only in 1 month. So basically you can go 9 years and 11 months with a product that doesn't produce more waste. So the environmental difference is significant.
It's massive.
Definitely.
Yeah.
One of our members just put on there, my period life changed as soon as I moved to a cup. I recommend it to everyone. That's a fantastic recommendation of it.
Super.
So you have different cup sizes. How do you know which cup size to choose when you're looking to buy one?
Yeah, we have 2 sizes, and maybe I can just show them. They're not super different from each other. And some people, and actually most people, can use both sizes. So for many, it depends on how much or how heavy your period flow is. And some use both. They would use the bigger cup for their heavy flow days and the smaller cup for lighter flow days. But otherwise, if you are young and you haven't had sexual intercourse yet, you might want to go for the small one as a rule of thumb. And later in life, and especially, for instance, if you have been giving birth, you might want to go for the bigger one as a rule of thumb. And they are a little bit adjustable in the sense that you can actually cut off the stem depending on if it's too long or for your vaginal channel. So you can cut it off to make it fit to exactly the size you need.
That's brilliant, because I always thought that I never really connected that you could actually get away with using both sizes for your fleur. So that is absolutely fantastic. That's completely new to me. So
yeah,
that is brilliant.
Yeah, I think they are, they're kind of adjustable. So they will fit to the environment they're put in. And for instance, if you use a medium and you can feel it, then you might want to use the smaller one, because the idea is that you shouldn't feel it when it's inside.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Katie, you got the next question?
Got the next question. What? Oh yes. So, do you have any tips for using the Ruby cup when out and about in public bathrooms?
Yes. This question we get a lot. Like, of course, it's a worry. How do you do in a public bathroom if you don't want to go with a bloody cup to the sink that is shared with other people? But first of all, this is a situation you will find yourself in probably less than you would think, especially when knowing that you can walk with the cup, or you can be with the cup for 8 hours. So on most days, you will not have to change it in a public bathroom. But it's possible, and it's definitely possible to do it in privacy in your own stall. For instance, some people would take a bottle of water with them, and they will empty the cup over the toilet and pour some water over it. And put it back in. And if you feel it should be cleaned more, you can do it later in the day when you're home in a more private setting. But even without water is possible as well. Like you can put with some paper, you can take the blood away, and actually it's fine to put it up again. So it's possible.
Yeah, very, very convenient. That is. That's brilliant.
It's possible.
Hopefully that'll give people a bit more confidence if they were to take them out and about, that they'd feel comfortable doing that. That's amazing. So when you are using your Ruby cup, what's the best way to clean it, like on a day-to-day basis? So when you're at home, what would you suggest to do with cleaning?
Well, before and after each period, you need to do a proper sterilize of it, which is in boiling water. And this can be done in any pot, actually, or you can get a separate sterilizer that you only use for your menstrual cup. 2 to 3 minutes in boiling water is enough to kill all the bacteria that can be on the surface of the cup, and then it's good to go. And then while you're on your period, you will just rinse it under the tap, like with cold water every time you empty it. So let's say around 3 times in your daily routine. And then the next time you sterilize it is again after the period. That's all that's needed.
That is so simple, it's so straightforward. And it definitely seems like a lot less than dealing with your disposables, because then you're having to put more effort into wrapping them up, putting them in the bin, emptying your bin, going to the bin. So it's a lot quicker, especially because a lot of your toilets these days, like, we're right next to a bath or your sink, so it's not even like you're having to really go far.
Exactly.
It's really ideal.
And rebuying every month new products, that's also a thing of the past when you're using the
running out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just seeing a comment on here. I chuck mine in a saucepan once I've finished with mine, and then my saucepan goes in the dishwasher once I'm finished. Really simple and easy to use. That's fantastic.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Got on the views that said, so that's what I do with a bottle of water when I'm out and about, but honestly, it's so rare as the last stages, which is what you covered, yeah?
Yeah.
So one other comment someone's just added on there. How would I know when it's ready to change? So how do I know when I need to change it?
Yeah, this is a thing you kind of have to learn. That's why we say there is a learning curve. If you have a heavy flow, you might need to do it more than these 8 hours, because you can get to a point where the cup is literally full, and that starts getting less comfortable to walk around with. But this is a learning by doing and getting to know your body. And as soon as you know, it's kind of predictable from month to month. So you can try to do the 8 hours and see what is the result. And maybe try to do it at home the first time. And also, it's nice to do it at home the first time to make sure that you actually know how to make the cup not leak. Because one thing is to just put it inside, but you actually need to create this seal with the cup from letting it really rest around against the vaginal wall to all sides. So if it's somehow folded inside, of course it can leak. So it's in general the recommendation that you try to get comfortable in your own home and see how it works. And then after this, it's pretty predictable how often you need to change it.
Fantastic. I've had a couple of people ask this question. Can you use one if you have a prolapse?
Yes, you might. But we recommend that you will see your healthcare provider to double check, because there are stages of how bad the prolapse can be. And if it's severe, then it might not be the best solution. And if it's milder, then it's definitely possible. But this is kind of an advice you need to give individually to each person. And the best person to do it is your healthcare provider, just to be sure.
Perfect.
And looking back through a couple of other questions that we've had, so Charlotte's asked, she's never used a cup before. Are they comfortable if you have issues like endometritis or any similar discomfort?
That's again something you would have to try out. Well, most people don't feel it. And if you don't have, for instance, problems using a tampon and you don't feel that, then it will likely be the same when using the cup. But this is a time will tell kind of thing, because it's, of course, if you have some vaginal kind of conditions, the situation gets a bit different potentially.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Katie, was there any other questions on the people watching?
We've got one from Simone. So as a complete beginner, I use cloth pads. Do I just need one cup, and is it easy to use?
Yeah, you can do with one cup. That's the brilliant thing. One product and you are good to go for up to 10 years. And yeah, one cup is enough. That's all you need. So in that sense, it's also money saving over time, because you will not find yourself going to the drugstore and going to refill your cabinet of menstrual products. It's simply enough.
Fantastic. So can you use a Ruby cup after giving birth?
Yes, for sure. The thing is, in the first up to 6 to 8 weeks, it's recommended that you don't use anything internally in the vagina, because you want to make sure that it's that you heal properly. So in that time, it's not recommended you would use any period product internally. But after that, definitely.
Fantastic, thank you. So I think I've asked all questions, but there's a few myths that we would like you to help out with, just
Okay.
so people ask about it and ask questions. So myth number one, one size fits all.
Well, that's a myth. We can say one size fits most, but you might have a preference for the smaller one or the bigger one. And it can be, well, you will have to do your best guess. And actually, we have a quiz on our website where you can fill in some questions like, have you given birth? Have you do you have a heavy flow? Do you have a light flow, etc.? These questions, and this quiz will tell you which is most likely your best size. And then we recommend you go for that. But in the end, of course, we have two sizes, because not everyone looks equal, nor looks the same, or is built equal, how you say. So in the end, there will be an ideal size for you.
Fantastic.
We've got myth 2, virgins can't use a menstrual cup.
Yeah, that's definitely a myth. Of course they can. And in this situation, you might want to go for the smaller one. And well, first of all, at Ruby Cup, we don't really believe too much in the thing about your hymen defines if you are a virgin or not. And well, if you are, I mean, it's possible to use the cup without breaking your hymen, if that's a concern to you. But in general, we don't think it's something to worry too much about. And well, in terms of your size or your comfort or whatever, definitely you can use a menstrual cup as a virgin. You don't need to be prepared any way to use a menstrual cup.
Fantastic, thank you. Myth number 3, you can't use a toilet when wearing a menstrual cup.
That's 100% a myth. You do your business just as usual while wearing a menstrual cup.
Myth 4, a menstrual cup can get lost inside the vagina.
That's another myth that we also hear. That's also 100% a myth. That's simply not possible. It can happen that it slips a bit too much up for what's comfortable, and you will have a, let's say, harder time to find it, but it's very rare, and it will stay in place if you really get the suction right. So you will find it at the bottom of the vagina. But even if it would happen that it slips up, it's still there, and it cannot like float up into your body. It's still inside of your vagina.
Fantastic. Number 5, you can't sleep whilst wearing a menstrual cup.
Definitely a myth. You sleep, you swim, you go bicycling, you do all what you would do in your daily life, and you can wear a menstrual cup. Definitely a myth.
Myth 6, you can't use a menstrual cup if you have the coil.
If you have what?
the coils, so the IUD contraception.
Yes. Well, you might or you might not. So this is again depending on if you have a low cervix, for instance, and the strings from the IUD sit rather low, then it might potentially become a problem. But for most who have an IUD, there's no problem at all. And again, since this is a very individual question, we recommend that you will check with your healthcare provider, because they can help determine if you could get problems or not. But main part, you won't get problems. So most people can use it still.
Fantastic. Myth number 7, someone with a heavy period can't use a menstrual cup.
Definitely a myth as well. Actually, I would say the opposite. I would say a menstrual cup is a super good product for a heavy period. It can collect more blood than all tampons out there. It can do, I think it's around 2 to 3 times of the biggest tampons. So basically, you will have to deal with your period fewer times, even if you have a heavy period. Definitely a myth.
Myth 8, you can't exercise while wearing a menstrual cup.
That's also a myth. Most daily life activities get kind of easier when wearing a menstrual cup, for instance, compared to menstrual pads that you can actually feel when you walk around. You can do all kinds of sports, also swimming, wearing the menstrual cup, and you shouldn't be worried of leaks, because when you created the seal, it will keep the blood completely inside. So you can move around freely.
That's fantastic, especially with like swimming. I know that, like for myself, when I swim in, it's something that I'd be quite conscious of. So it's fantastic to know that you go and do that and know that it's nice and secure.
Yeah.
The last myth I've got is menstrual cups are painful and uncomfortable.
That's a myth. You shouldn't feel it at all. And most people don't feel it at all. And then there are some people who feel they have to go to the bathroom a little bit more frequently, which might be because when the bladder expands, that it actually touches towards the cup. And then you will feel that you have to pee more frequently. And this will be a sign that you might be wearing a cup that is too big or too firm. This is not the case for Ruby cup because it's pretty soft as well. But if you have this problem, it might be that you're using a super firm cup or a cup that is too big for your ideal size. Then you would want to jump to the smaller cup.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for debunking those myths. It's great to have answers from that.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple little questions left from our watchers. So someone said, is it possible to use a Ruby cup with a tilted cervix?
Most likely, yes. And again, one of these, let's say, individual questions that you would maybe want to check with your healthcare provider. But you might want to start at the smaller cup. And if your cervix is tilted downwards, there might be a bit less space, which is why you might also want to cut the stem to get it even smaller.
I'm a part-time Ruby cup user. I mainly use mine for go to bed or if I want a bath, because I really like my cloth pads. But my cervix is tilted way to the back, and I use a medium cup, and it did take a little longer to get used to, fitting it properly and just getting the comfort correct. But it is possible, just with a bit of determination.
Yeah,
it wasn't as difficult, because I did worry. I was just oh gosh, this is going to be a nightmare. But I managed to go out and about really quickly with it. I was confident, And even if you're not confident, you can shove a pad on until you're ready. So, yeah.
Exactly. That's true. And your story also confirms that it's an individual experience for each. So you just have to learn how the cup works with your body.
Yeah.
So most people can really make it work.
Fantastic. One of our other watchers has said sleeping with a menstrual cup is a game changer. It's the best. Another person has said, I had my second child nearly 13 years ago and I haven't looked back since. And another member said, I used to think tampons were pain-free until I swapped to a cup, and the comfort is amazing. I can't believe I ever used to use a tampon. So that's some brilliant feedback about cups there.
Definitely. That's super cool to hear. And most people, like most like almost everyone has good experiences. Yeah.
Fantastic. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us before we wrap up for today?
I'm not sure I can think of more on the top of my mind.
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
It was great to be here.
It's been wonderful to meet you.
Likewise.
Thank you. As one of our brands we work with, we really appreciate your time, and we love supporting you. So thank you so much, and thank you everyone for watching, and we hope you have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone.
Bye.